What is the saddest thing you've ever seen? 1. I have seen my husband cleaning my oldest son's eyeglasses. Every single time he cleans his own glasses, he cleans our son's at the same time. This is sad because our son passed away in April. The police gave us back his glasses with his things and we sat them on top of our microwave in the kitchen. We are trying to hold things together, but the grief is crippling. Just seeing my husband clean those glasses, it brings me to my knees. His quiet little act for our son. 2. Anytime somebody walks out of the vet alone with an empty pet carrier. 3. I was in the lobby with my cat waiting for my appointment. There was a couple with a big all golden retriever. I pet the dog and baby talked him and complimented how nice he was. Then they told me they were there to put him down because of a cancer. Looking that dog in the eyes after that was almost too much for me. 4. This reminds me of my saddest moment. It was at my grandfather's funeral. My great-grandfather was still alive, and when they wheeled him into the room, he got up from his wheelchair and kneeled down beside the casket. He kind of looked up to the sky and said, "My boy, why God, take me, I'm an old man." By far the most heart-wrenching moment I've ever personally witnessed. 5. The saddest thing I have seen in a very long time was my mother's face. She has dementia and my 4 sisters severed the ties with her and me when they learned that our mom could no longer live alone. I have taken care of her for 6 years. Early on when my mother could still remember everyone, she asked me why my sisters hadn't called her lately. I really didn't know what to say, so I told her the truth. The sadness on my mom's face was so heartbreaking I started to cry myself. I will never forget it, nor will I ever forgive my sisters. 6. My mom has end-stage dementia, so she doesn't even know that I am her daughter. She of course knew it 6 years ago, but she didn't realize that she was even living with me and not in her own house. The situation with my sisters was not too bad growing up. I have 2 half-sisters who weren't raised with me, but we saw each other several times a year and kept in touch. My biological sisters and brother were typical siblings. My 2 half-sisters robbed my mother and tried to steal her house away from her when she got sick. I stepped in and saved it. In the process, however, I lost everything I had ever worked for. I lost my job, my house, vehicle, motorcycles, dogs, husband, everything. 7. I had a similar moment at my grandfather's funeral. Grandma, who has Alzheimer's, was just sitting next to his casket holding his hand. She sat there for hours, and we knew she didn't fully understand what happened. She kept saying, "He's so cold, he's so cold," and my dad brought her a blanket so she could tuck him in. It was heartbreaking. 8. I could never imagine losing a child. My saddest moment was just that. Shortly after high school, 4 of my friends joined the Marines together. 2 years pass and all is well, until that morning. While I was waking up to go to school, 2 Marines were knocking on the door of my friend's dad. He was killed along with another Marine in a mortar attack. His dad was holding himself together very well until they presented him the flag from his casket. By time the officer presenting the flag got to "Please accept this flag as a symbol for our appreciation for your loved one's service to country," and Corps, he was shaking. The officer steps back, salutes him and turns. Just then his dad doubles over, sitting his chair, clutching the flag as hard as he can and bawling. It was real, his only boy was gone. 9. This past year we lost my grandfather and my father. I felt terrible for my grandma when my grandfather died, but after we lost my dad, her only child, I can't imagine what she's going through, and I hope I'll never have to experience it. 10. We just want to know how to live without our child. You just do. You continue to wake up every day and time goes on, as it does, and there isn't anything you can do about that. This is how you exist without your child. In time you will live again rather than simply exist, but for now it's just one day after another, 1 week, 1 month. Eventually it will be a year, then 5 years. You'll still miss him just as much, but there'll be a time where you realize you have been living without him. It's still very early for you. Allow yourself to grieve right now and focus on nothing more than each day at time. How to go through his things without wanting to die. Go through his things at a pace that you can handle. Don't expect to be able to do it without feeling. Allow yourself to feel what you feel as you do it. Stop when it becomes too much, and go back to it the next time you feel ready to. Sorting out belongings is part of the process, so take your time and remember that it's okay to be devastated right now. There is no rule book on grief, it comes as it comes, so just allow it. Accept it as part of your life right now, and realize that just as before it, there will be life following it. But right now it's just how it is. How to help our other children deal with the loss. Let your children help with sorting out your son's belongings where appropriate. Use it as an opportunity to talk about him with them. Maybe an item brings up a particular memory, talk about that. If it's a funny memory, then remember it's okay to laugh at it. If it's a sad memory, then it's okay to feel sad about it. Just talk to them about how they are feeling and keep that communication open. If your other children are young, keep their school and other caregivers informed of what's happening so they too can be involved in the healing process.